redMOSK.
Goth and emo, two of the most popular music-based subcultures from the late 1900s. The dark appearances of goth and emo can make it a bit tricky for some people to distinguish between them. While most of you may sense the general differences, I believe many are still curious about the more specific differences between goth and emo. In my previous videos, some of you also commented and raised questions about the differences between the two subcultures. So here I will explain the differences in 4 aspects, which are their origins, music, fashion, and ideology. So if you're wondering how to know if you are a goth and emo, I think this video could help you as well. Let's start from the goth subculture. Goth music, or Gothic rock, emerged in the United Kingdom in the late 1970s, branching off from post-punk and mixing punk energy with more atmospheric and mysterious sound. Proto-goth like the Velvet Underground, Joy Division, and the Doors paved the way for later goth bands with their melancholy, atmospheric sounds and exploration of darker tones and lyrics. The term goth was coined in 1967 to describe a rock band, the Doors, even before the first goth song, Bila Lugosisted by Bauhaus, was released in 1982. The term was also coined even before one of the most influential proto-goth albums, like the Marble Index by Nico, which was released in 1968. And the thing is that this album was also sometimes called the first goth album. And from 1982 to 1986, the Batcave Club in London became a hotspot for goth bands. It is the place where the goth scene connected with each other and expressed themselves. And of course, Gothic rock continued to evolve and develop after that, giving birth to other genres like dark wave, blending goth with new wave and synth-pop. Nowadays, general people would also think of those who love gothic aesthetics and dress in gothic ways as goth, though actually the word goth for people in goth subcultures refers to those who love gothic rock music. If you are curious about the differences between what is goth and what is gothic, I have a video explaining about the differences. I'll put the link in the description also. Emo music, on the other hand, originated in the mid-80s in Washington, D.C. from hardcore punk music. The band Rites of Spring, led by Gibi Shotto, shifted away from punk political lyrics and focused more on personal emotions. Since it was rooted in the hardcore punk scene, emo was called emotional hardcore before it was shortened to emo. The emotional hardcore songs from the 80s don't sound exactly like emo songs from the 2000s. It was more raw and unpolished, so to speak. The second wave of emo music started in 1990s when emo music spread from the West Coast to the Midwest regions of the States. Alternative rock, indie rock, punk rock, and pop-punk bands like Sunny Day Real Estate, Captain Jazz, The Promise Ring added more distinctive guitar melodies and vocal styles to emo songs. Emo bands in the 90s are collectively called Midwest emo, even though some bands like Sunny Day Real Estate were from DC, not the Midwest. And bands in the second wave of Midwest emo are what people in emo subculture usually refer to as emo bands. Let's fast forward to the 2000s. Emo music became more intertwined with pop-punk music, and this is how emo music started to gain massive popularity, especially after Jimmy Eat World's album Bleed American was released in 2001. After that, emo subculture branches out to be more than just emotional hardcore music. Many people in the emo subcultures after the 2000s listened to more pop-punk bands and alternative rock bands like Panic at the Disco or My Chemical Romance. Some purists maintain the definition of emo as an emotional hardcore scene. Some people are fine with emo kids listening to these pop-punk or alternative rock bands as long as they know about or listen to emotional hardcore music as well. In terms of music, Gothic rock was influenced by punk rock, post-punk, and new wave movements. The Gothic rock genre is characterized by its scything guitar patterns, high-pitched bass line, cold synthesizers, and the prominent use of reverb. Gothic rock music often features minor or bass chords, creating a dark and haunting atmosphere. Thematically, Gothic rock songs explore dark and introspective subjects such as romanticism, morbidity, existentialism, and supernatural mysticism. The music is distinguished by its sorrowful, brooding, and mysterious undertones. Here's a list of some goth bands: The Damned, Suicide Banshee, Joy Division, The Cure, Virgin Prunes, Bauhaus, Christian Death, Cocteau Twins, Specimen, The Sisters of Mercy, Suspiria, Fields of the Nephilim, Mephisto Waltz, London After Midnight, and The Birthday Massacre. Emo music, as explained, is emotional hardcore music, and other genres that emo tend to listen to are post-hardcore, alternative rock, indie rock, and pop-punk. Emotional hardcore is known for their fast and powerful rhythms. Emo explores emotionally driven themes of failed romance, self-loathing, or pain, something raw and powerful. Emo also has subgenres. Screamo is scream plus emo, incorporate more aggressive elements with frequent shifts in tempo. Emo pop is basically more upbeat but still maintains the angsty lyrics. Meanwhile, emo rap combines conscious hip-hop with indie rock instrumentals. Here is a list of emotional hardcore bands: Sunny Day Real Estate, Captain Jazz, Rise of Spring, Embrace, Jimmy Eat World, Peewald, Save the Day, The Promise Ring, Thursday, and Paramore. And here's a list of bands many people in emo subculture listen to: AFI or A Fire Within, Glassjaw, Good Charlotte, The Used, Fall Out Boy, My Chemical Romance, and Panic at the Disco. Fashion. Before we start, here's something to note. Since goth and emo are music-based subcultures, you don't need to dress like a goth or emo to be in the subculture. You only need to be a fan of the music. Likewise, you can dress up in gothic or emo style though you're not in the subculture. You may define goth fashion as dark, antiquated, and mysterious. The gothic fashion has many subgenres such as trad goth, Victorian goth, Western goth, cyber goth, or new goth. Two main gothic styles many people are more familiarized with are traditional goth and Victorian goth. Traditional goth or trad goth was influenced by punk fashion with a mix of elegance from the Victorian fashion. This style originated in the 80s with the goth rock scene. Meanwhile, Victorian Gothic clothes are inspired from morning gowns and clothing from the Victorian era. I have a video that talks more about each subtype of Gothic fashion. If you want to know more about Goth fashion, the link is in the description. For emo fashion, the stereotypical style of emo nowadays was influenced by bands like My Chemical Romance. The outfits of emo subculture used to be a bit more neutral in the beginning until they added more grunge in the second wave of emo movements. So after we talk about the general vibe, let's have a side-by-side comparison of a typical goth and typical emo fashion. The basic goth look will start with materials like velvet, leather, laces, or fishnets. You can opt for elegant or loose dresses or something more casual and tight like leather skirts and pants or even corsets. The color scheme of goth is, of course, all black, but sometimes you can also add dark red, purple, grey or other dark colors to the mix. For an emo look, you can't go wrong with tight or slim-fitting clothing, especially skinny jeans. Emo look also incorporates band t-shirts, green shirts and hoodies. Like goth, emo's main color is also black, but you can expect to see some accent colors like red, pink, purple and blue in emo clothing more than goth. Now that you can see the base of these two styles, let's move on to the accessories. On the goth side, recommended footwear are platform boots and combat boots. Accessories are crucial for this subculture, especially studs, chains, or chokers. They often mix symbols like bats, skulls, or moon to their outfits. And goth makeup is dark and dramatic with eyeliners, dark eyeshadows, and dark lipstick. For emo, Converse and Vans are very often seen with an emo look. Studs are also common. People in emo subculture tend to wear wristbands or band bracelets and fingerless gloves. Skulls are also common in emo style, but what's more iconic are their checker and stripe patterns. The makeup is also dark with eyeshadow, but emo makeup is usually less dramatic compared to goth. For hairstyle, we can see that the iconic hairstyles of both subcultures are kind of dramatic or a little bit, I don't want to say messy, but it's kind of, messy. Goth hairstyles are often teased to create volume, or they might keep their hair flowy long. Vampire bangs are also popular among goth. Some other popular styles are deathhawk or locks. These type of neon locks are particularly common in cybergoth subculture. On the other hand, tease hair is also famous for emo, and emo hairs often feature asymmetrical cuts, choppy layers and side-swept bangs. Another famous one is coontail hair, which has a striped patterns. By the way, speaking of coontail hair, it is also very common or very famous for the scene kids. Scene is another more colorful subculture derived from emo. Some of the goth fashion icons are Juicy Sue, Tedabara, Vampira, Robert Smith, Ollie Wisdom, and Carl McCoy. And meanwhile, some emo fashion icons you can take inspiration from are Hayley Williams, Billie Joe Armstrong, Pete Wentz, Jerome, and Jenna Lee. Or you can comment some of your favorite emo or goth fashion icons in the comment section. Ideology. Goth and emo may be both perceived as dark and sorrowful. However, they do not express their dark ideas or dark aesthetic in the same way. Just like their music, the goth subculture delve into the darker side of humans and appreciate mystical or occult concepts. They often explore morbidity and melancholy in an artistic or philosophical way, or as you may often hear that they appreciate beauty in darkness. Emo music has a strong emphasis on personal emotions, especially with pain and self-loathing, and emo kids can express these angsty and sad feelings through their confessional lyrics, which are relatable and immediate. Most, must I say, annoying misunderstandings about people of these subcultures are that all of them have depression or mental health issues. As many of you may already notice, goths are stereotyped as rude and that they hate everyone. But in reality, goths are not like that at all. People think that all emos are suicidal and indulge in self-harm, which is quite a harmful stereotype, to be honest. Both goth and emo are a group of people with various personalities, just like any other group in society. And mental health issues can affect basically anyone, not just people in these subcultures. Stereotyping based on appearance or interest is, not only unfair to people in these subcultures, but it also reinforces stigmas or stereotype surrounding mental health. Now, let's wrap it up. And that is the differences between goth and emo in aspect of their origin, music, fashion, and ideology. And if you ever wonder if you can be goth and emo at the same time, the answer is apparently yes. Well, I believe humans are able to be into two or more genres of music at the same time anyway. I get that some people may have concerns if those who consider themselves both goth and emo really know what gothic rock bands or emo songs really are. However, if you're really into both gothic rock and emotional hardcore songs, of course you can be both goth and emo at the same time. Well, it is kind of fun revisiting some more information about emo since I grew up listening to some emo songs without knowing people calling them emo. Well, thank you for watching. I really hope that you had a great time and gained something after watching this video. I wish you an amazing day. See you on the next journey.